My name is Megan Moon. This is my capstone presentation for fall 2023. My capstone focuses on integrating social and emotional learning to establish exemplar mental health in students. My capstone focused on techniques and methods that can be used to integrate SEL, which is social and emotional learning. So if you hear me say SEL, that's what that means, as well as the impact and benefits for children who receive implemented SEL instruction, long-term benefit, and engagement increase. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how raising children requires a village. Raising a teacher also requires a village. So I just wanted to say thank you to every one of you who have impacted my life. There may not be pictures for all of you, but all of you have touched my life in a way, and I wanted to say thank you for supporting me. I wanted to touch on the topic of philosophy in my classroom. As a classroom teacher, my goal is to create a positive learning environment that is safe for my students. Positive environments harbor confidence and constructive criticism rather than just criticism alone. Positive learning environments enable students to grow and learn from their mistakes. Restorative practices go hand in hand with positive learning environments. It creates and focuses on fostering peer relationships within the classroom and is a correctional tool to aid in classroom management. If you give students the ability to set expectations for themselves and problem solve when conflict arises, you will see students more engaged and likely to follow conduct and protocol. Next in the lineup is social and emotional learning. Social and emotional learning is the forefront of my capstone, so I'm not going to really go over that as much because that is in the capstone and in my paper that you read. But identity is another big topic within my capstone and within my classroom. Identity is such an important tool in utilizing young children because they're at such pivotal moments in their lives where they're being integrated with a bunch of children that they may not know. They're looking at each other for inspiration, trying to find their way in the world. And many of them, their confidence levels are very low. So I want to help build up their identity so that they can build confidence and know who they are and set their paths in the world with their art. Art helped me tremendously in my adolescence find my path and make a voice for myself. And I want to help harbor voices for students and help them be confident in who they are as a person so that they can be confident in where they want to go with their lives and use this as life skills. Another big thing that goes along with social emotional learning in all of these aspects is building relationships within collaboration. Collaboration is a very important part of my classroom, and I want students to be able to make peer relationships with each other so that they can harbor communication skills and then use these skills outside of the classroom and other classroom settings and use this in their daily lives. Collaboration is such an important skill in being able to utilize teamwork and work together to problem solve. Respect is another quality in my classroom that is very, very intentionally placed. If students do not have respect for you, then they will not have respect for your classroom or your materials. So respect is something that is covered on the very first day of class. They must have respect for themselves, respect for the teacher, respect for students, and respect for the classroom. These are all procedural things that are covered in the first day of class. The next point I want to cover is my journey as a teacher during my graduate studies. I have not obtained a job yet. I have had opportunities, but I have not placed at a job yet. So there's been a lot of self-growth and identity in my own journey in finding who I am as a teacher. I have been finding the balance between work life and family life. So a lot of time I struggle to kind of like keep that my own personal identity and who I am in creating art as visible as it should be. Like, I forget to create art and sometimes forget to help myself when I'm putting so much effort into helping students or just life in general. And I think this is such a big issue with new teachers in balancing their lives and work. And I really want to focus on that. But I think it is a tool to show students that you don't always have things together and you're growing alongside of them and creating your own identity. And I think that is a very nice thing to be able to show and share with them so that they can see that you are a relatable teacher and can grow with them and help them to grow. These pieces are pieces that I created at Piedmont this past summer. They really focused on my growth spiritually and mentally in coming to who I am. And there's one last thing I would like to say about those prints is that even though they aren't exactly like the printmaking prints, they're not finished pieces, but I think there's beauty in seeing the unfinished piece and seeing that the ink may not have fully been placed. I think that goes to show that there's room for growth, and that's why I picked those to show. So this slide is about my journey presently. So as you know from my paper that I had the opportunity to shadow at South Habersham Middle School for an extended period of time under Lori Goff. That was such a great experience in getting to see students and seeing where they needed improvement or more help. And to go along with the paper, identity was one of the number one things I found. Middle school is such a pivotal moment in their lives that they're looking to each other for confidence. They're looking everywhere to find who they are, and most of the time their confidence levels are low. And that's why I wanted to focus on identity within my lessons, because it helps build them up into who they are and gives them confidence to go about their lives and find their way in the world. So I have been subbing at the middle school. I finished that up, and now I am at the high school subbing again. The high school at Habersham Central High School is actually where I graduated from in 2019. It's also where I student taught at with both of the art teachers, Jill Gallagher and Amber Lewis. Amber was my high school art teacher who actually inspired me to become an art teacher. So it's such a special opportunity to be able to co-work with them for a short period of time. And it was a magical experience. And now I am a regular sub for them until I find a job, which I have enjoyed getting to spend time with these students as well. So I am versed in most levels. And now I am going to be taking a long-term sub position at Fairview Elementary, which they are currently looking for an art teacher. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that after that long-term sub that they will offer me the job. So I am looking forward to that experience in elementary school as well. So now I want to dive into my lessons. more thoroughly than what was in my paper. So all of these lessons are geared to the middle school level. My first one is very near and dear to my heart. This lesson is on neurographic art. So for this lesson, students are required to make about 10 different dots on their piece of paper, and then they're going to connect them and make lines. Within creating these lines, these students are supposed to be thinking through issues, challenges, or goals they may have, and write it on the back of their paper so that this whole process they're thinking and reflecting. And then once they've finished doing that, they are going to round out the edges and make them look like neurographic like art. So it's going to be looking like neurons, like connections, hence the name neurographic art. So after they have all of that finished, they're going to go in and Zentangle. They can either Zentangle before or after. I usually let them do it afterwards. But they're going to go through and look at the meaning behind colors. We go through this as a class to see the impact that color has and see if they can relate to any of it. And then they can choose their colors and implement that within their artwork. They will then go back through and add Zentangles within their piece of art. So this whole process is supposed to be meditative and allowing them to forget about their worries and manage their stress. So this is kind of a transformative process. So at the end of each lesson, I'm going to have basic skills that they learn or like a summary of the SEL impact that each lesson has. So the neurographic art helps maintain and control emotions, overcome challenges, set goals, work through problems, and problem solve. And it provides them with life skills. So I actually had the opportunity to teach this lesson to the middle schoolers, and it was such a great lesson that helped even the special needs children that came in. I just downsized their paper and then already created their lines and dots for them so that all they had to do was color in, which really helped them, and they really enjoyed adding the Zentangles in as well. So this is a lesson that is available for any age really, or anyone at any level, that can help develop and show them a tool that they can use anytime they're faced with an issue, and kind of brings in art therapy into the classroom. So these are examples from some of my students. These are not finished, but this is in the process. Most of my lessons are based on process over product because I think there's so much more valuable skills learned in creating than there is in just a final product. So these are some that are getting close to being finished, and I just love how these turn out. Here is a rubric. So I grade for color choice. I grade that they have a goal or a challenge on the back, craftsmanship, and completeness. The last lesson was a 6th grade lesson. So this is a 7th grade lesson. It focuses on identity. Again, identity is such a big part of all of these lessons. This one specifically focuses on 7th grade. So for this one, they are going to be making clean cuts of an image. So for this, I believe they are going to have a portrait in the middle of it where I have taken pictures of them on my laptop, and then they will get their portrait back to glue down on a piece of paper, and then they're going to be looking for images that can represent who they are. So they're finding images within magazines that tell who they are in words, and then they're going to be collaging those together to represent a portrait of them. Now, at the beginning of this lesson, we discussed what a portrait is and can be. So we might cover a sport, a song, or even an artwork. So the main idea is that a portrait can be anything that represents you and your personality. The lessons learned here is discovery of identity. It builds their confidence. It helps their communication skills because they're communicating to other students what represents themselves, and they're helping each other find images within magazines. And it helps them build life skills. So here is my rubric for that. I grade for organization of their collages, collage pieces, craftsmanship, and completeness. Now this is an 8th grade lesson that is sign language. So this also touches on what a portrait can be and what can represent them. So we might cover, is it their arm, their leg, or their foot? This kind of goes hand in hand with the American Sign Language. So we will go over how to sign, and then they're going to be choosing their initials that they're going to draw a hand and on their piece of paper, and then they will color it, and then the background will also represent who they are. So they can add stuff in the background that represents them. So this lesson focuses on identity, building confidence, different styles of communication, understanding peers, and life skills. This lesson actually was inspired by a student in the middle school. He is actually deaf, so he uses a lot of sign language, and he has an interpreter. And I just think this is such a good project to help students understand communication and understand that there's students that may have a disability. Please excuse the bell. But that there's students that have different ways of communicating, and that they can still collaborate with them and then kind of have fun with this project. Because a lot of the students will then in turn go and share with their peers that they can sign their initials, and then most of them will go look up other ways that they can communicate with sign language, which is really nice. So for this project, I grade for background, which is things that represent who they are, which is a drawing, the hand drawing, which is the initials in sign language, and craftsmanship. This next lesson covers color theory shoes. I believe this is a 7th grade lesson. So we will cover warm-ups and discuss what colors mean and what they think of when they see a certain color. So that, as you see, is that first slide in the top corner. Then we'll have another warm-up while we're doing this project where they kind of implement the neurographic art. So they will draw lines that represent how they feel, and then use what they know about color to color their short image that they've created with the lines. And then everyone will guess what each other is feeling when we're done. Those are just warm-ups. So the actual project will be where I print out a bunch of shoe designs or like templates for students, and then they're going to take what they know about color and learn how there's marketing on products based on color and how they make consumers feel. So for example, they're going to make their shoes look like candy, and then they're going to go into what emotions those colors evoke and why is it specifically for that type of candy. So they will have like a little statement to write at the end of coloring in their shoes to write about how it makes the consumer feel and what they think and why they think those colors were chosen. So this lesson covers discovering emotion and color correlation, commercial product design, communication, and life skills. So they can relate colors to feelings and emotions and see how these are used in marketing. For this lesson, I grade on color choice and meaning, the artist statement, craftsmanship, and completeness. For my last lesson, I focus on a representational portrait in 8th grade. So here you see that there is a portrait split, half of representational items that they have drawn and half of just a portrait of themselves. So within this, they literally split their paper in half and then choose items that represent who they are. So 8th grade has done identity collage based on representational items within their American Sign Language lesson. Plus, it's going to come back around, and now it is showing those items as well as themselves. So it's kind of like a full circle kind of moment, wrapping all of this identity together. So they will be using colored pencils and crayons to create this, as well as before they start drawing those items, they're going to make a list and show them with me. And within creating their portraits, they do not want to just kind of draw those items. They kind of want to assemble them in a way that it lines up with their body features of their faces. So like they'll pick an item for their eye, an ear, and then try to implement things into like their hair. They want those body structures to still be in place, even though it's a representational item. So skills they learn here is, again, discovering identity, building confidence, communication skills, community, and life skills. So for this project, I grade for their portrait, their representational items, and being able to explain their relation to the items, craftsmanship, and completeness. So to conclude, my capstone focuses on social emotional learning, and it is such a big issue in the world that students really need those social emotional skills, and there's more and more mental illnesses on the rise, such as anxiety, depression, you name it, and it's just sad. Like, for example, I have seen at the high school, which this is the high school I have went to, whenever they have pep rallies, the noise is so triggering and overwhelming to some of the students that there is a whole entire cafeteria full of students who do not attend those. And when I was here, almost all of us had to attend that, which I'm glad they're catering to those students, but it just kind of goes to show like how many students are affected by like everyday things, especially when it comes to presenting. There is so much anxiety faced on social interaction, and I think a lot of it has to do with the epidemic. There are so many social skills that was lost in 2019 through 2022 almost. Even my college experience, the first 2 years was in COVID, so most of my social experiences were taken from me, and there's nothing that can really be done to give those interactions back to students and give them those settings to be able to. That's why it's so important to implement collaboration and team building skills within your art curriculum. And kind of a full circle moment, building their identity and self-esteem all ties into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have to meet those students' needs more than you need to meet their educational needs. If those needs are not met, then they will not be able to meet educational needs. You have to make sure that students' well-beings are taken care of, that their personal lives are in check, that most of all and above all, that they feel safe in your classroom. You want to harbor those safe and positive environments for them, because you never know what is going on in a student's life when they walk in your classroom door. You also have to build their esteem up and help them have respect for themselves, give them the self-esteem they need, and recognize them as a person, because some of them do not feel like they deserve it. And I want every single one of my students to know that they are loved and cared for the second they walk in my door. And I will do anything I can to help them and help them to be able to grow and build their self-identity. That kind of ties in all of my capstone together, and I really appreciate every single one of you who have been here and helped me through my journey, my growing as a teacher, and inspiring me to be the best teacher that I can be.